Commander Park Ji-hai felt the familiar hum of the bridge beneath her feet as she watched the stars through the massive view screen of the UES Thunderstrike. The ship had been cruising through uncharted space for 3 weeks now, mapping new systems and searching for signs of intelligent life. Her crew of 47 specialists represented the best Earth had to offer: scientists, engineers, diplomats, and yes, soldiers, though she hoped they wouldn't need the latter. "Commander, I'm picking up massive energy signatures," called out Lieutenant Kim Tae-min from his station. The young weapons officer had joined the crew fresh from the academy, eager to see the galaxy beyond Earth's solar system. His fingers danced across the holographic controls as warning lights began flashing across his console. Park Ji-hai turned toward him, her dark eyes sharp with attention. "What kind of signatures, Lieutenant?" "Multiple hyperspace exits, ma'am." "Big ones?" Taemin's voice carried a note of concern as he studied the readings. "I count at least 300 contacts emerging from hyperspace around us." The bridge crew fell silent as space itself seemed to tear open around them. Brilliant flashes of light marked the arrival of ship after ship, each one massive and bristling with weapons. The vessels were unlike anything in Earth's databases, long predatory shapes painted in deep crimson, with hull designs that looked more grown than built. "Battle stations," Park commanded calmly, though her heart rate increased. The thunder. Strike was powerful for a human vessel, but 300 to 1 were impossible odds by any reasonable calculation. Chief Navigator Lee Hae-jin looked up from her station, her face pale. "Commander, they've formed a complete sphere around us. No gaps in their formation, we're trapped." The view screen automatically shifted to tactical mode, showing the Thunderstrike as a tiny blue dot surrounded by a cloud of red enemy contacts. Each red dot represented a warship larger than anything humanity had ever built. "Incoming transmission on all frequencies," reported Communications Officer Park So-young. "They're demanding we respond." "Put them through," Park ordered, straightening. Her uniform. First contact protocols had prepared her for this moment, though not quite under these circumstances. The main screen flickered and filled with an alien face that would have given children nightmares. General Vexthar of the Vorthak Empire possessed 4 glowing orange eyes arranged in a diamond pattern on his elongated skull. Scars crisscrossed his grey-green skin, and his mouth was filled with needle-sharp teeth. When he spoke, his mandibles clicked and chittered in rhythm with his words. "Unknown vessel," the alien general's voice rumbled through the bridge speakers, automatically translated by the ship's AI. "You have violated the sacred hunting grounds of the Vorthak Empire. State your purpose before we reduce you to cosmic." "Dust?" Park Ji-hai stepped forward, keeping her expression neutral despite the alien's intimidating appearance. "I am Commander Park Ji-hai of the United Earthship Thunderstrike. We are on a peaceful exploration mission. We had no knowledge of your territorial claims." General Vexthar's 4 eyes focused on her with predatory intensity. Behind him, she could see other aliens moving about what appeared to be a massive bridge filled with weapon controls and tactical displays. "Humans," he spat, as if the word tasted bitter. "We have heard whispers of your kind spreading through the galaxy like a plague. Building alliances, establishing trade routes, claiming to seek peace while expanding your influence." "We do seek peace," Park replied honestly. "Earth's policy is to establish friendly relations with all sentient species we encounter." The alien general's mandibles clicked in what she recognized as laughter. "Peace? You speak of peace while commanding a warship bristling with weapons? Your kind's hypocrisy is already legendary among the older civilizations," Lieutenant Kim Tae-min whispered urgently from his station. "Commander, I'm reading massive power buildups across their fleet. They're charging weapons." Park never took her eyes off the alien general. "Our weapons are defensive only, General Vexthar. The Thunderstrike is an exploration vessel." "Exploration vessel?" Vexthar's scarred face twisted into something resembling a sneer. "My intelligence reports indicate this ship carries technology far beyond what any exploration mission would require. Quantum processors, adaptive hull plating, consciousness transfer matrices. These are weapons of war disguised as tools of peace." Park Ji-hai felt a chill run down her spine. The alien knew far too much about their classified systems. Someone had been feeding the Vorthak information about human technology and military capabilities. "General," she said carefully, "regardless of our ship's capabilities, we pose no threat to your empire. Allow us to withdraw from your space, and there need be no conflict." Vexthar leaned forward on his command throne, his 4 eyes gleaming with anticipation. "Withdraw? I think not, human. The Galactic Council grows tired of your species' rapid expansion. Some of us believe it's time to demonstrate the consequences of human ambition. One ship against my entire battle fleet seems like appropriate odds." Around the Thunderstrike, 300 Vorthak warships began moving into attack formation. Each vessel was a kilometer long, covered in weapon ports and shield generators. The alien fleet could have obliterated a small moon with their combined. Firepower Science Officer Song Yejin looked up from her sensors with wide eyes. "Commander, each of their ships is reading as a Dreadnought-class vessel. Their combined firepower exceeds anything in our military databases." Park Ji-hai smiled, slightly, an expression that didn't reach her eyes. "General Vexthar, are you certain you want to proceed with this course of action?" The alien general's mandibles clicked with amusement. "Your bravery in the face of certain destruction is admirable, human, but ultimately pointless. Surrender. Tao and your crew will be granted the honor of dying quickly." "I see," Park said quietly. She turned to her crew, noting their tense but determined faces. These men and women had volunteered for a mission that might take them far from Earth, possibly forever. They deserved better than to die in an alien ambush based on paranoia and misunderstanding. She faced the view screen again, her voice carrying absolute confidence. "General Vexthar, I want to make something very clear. We came here in peace, seeking knowledge and friendship among the stars. But if you insist on violence..." Park Ji-hai's smile widened, and something in her expression made even the battle-hardened alien general shift uncomfortably in his command throne. "You should have brought more ships." The transmission ended abruptly, as alarm klaxons began wailing throughout the Vorthak fleet. General Vexthar stared at the darkened screen for a long moment, replaying the human commander's final words. In all his years of conquest, no enemy had ever faced impossible odds with such calm confidence. Something cold settled in his stomach as he realized the human vessel sat motionless among his fleet, seemingly defenseless, but radiating a quiet menace. That made his tactical officers exchange nervous glances. The Thunderstrike looked small and insignificant compared to his massive warships, but the commander's tone suggested she knew something he didn't. What exactly had the Vorthak Empire stumbled into? The bridge of the Thunderstrike transformed in an instant. What had been a peaceful exploration vessel moments before now revealed its true nature as lights dimmed to combat red and hidden panels slid open across the walls. Commander Park Ji-hai watched her crew spring into action with practiced efficiency that spoke of countless hours of training. "All hands, this is the commander," Park announced over the ship's communication system. "We are now in a combat situation. Initiate Combat Protocol 7 immediately. This is not a drill." Throughout the ship, 47 crew members moved to their battle stations. In the engine room, Chief Engineer Lee Min-ho's hands moved across his control panels, like a concert pianist playing a deadly symphony. The Thunderstrike's fusion reactors hummed louder as power levels increased beyond anything most spaceships could safely handle. "Commander," Lee Min-ho's voice crackled through the intercom, "quantum processors are coming online now. The ship's learning systems are ready to analyze everything these aliens throw at us." On the bridge, Lieutenant Kim Tae-min's weapons console lit up with targeting data as the ship's sensors began their work. "Ma'am, I'm reading weapon signatures from the entire enemy fleet. They're powering up some kind of plasma-based energy weapons." Park Ji-hai nodded grimly. "Let them fire first. We need to see what we're dealing with." The first attack came like a storm of crimson lightning. Dozens of Vorthak warships opened fire simultaneously, sending streams of superheated plasma racing toward the lone human vessel. The energy bolts looked like miniature suns as they crossed the void, each one carrying enough power to vaporize a city block. "Brace for impact," called out Navigator Lee Hai-jin, gripping her console as the first. Waves struck their shields. But something extraordinary happened. Instead of the shields failing or the ship being destroyed, The Thunderstrike's defensive systems absorbed the incoming energy like a sponge soaking up water. The ship's hull began to glow with strange patterns. That shifted and changed, analyzing every aspect of the alien weapons. "Incredible," whispered Science Officer Song Ye-jin, studying her readings. "The ship is actually learning from their attacks. Every plasma bolt is being broken down and analyzed. Energy frequency, particle composition, power output. We're mapping their entire weapons technology in real time." In the depths of the ship, the quantum processors worked at impossible speeds. These weren't ordinary computers, but thinking machines that could adapt and evolve faster than any biological brain. They dissected each alien attack, finding weaknesses and calculating countermeasures within microseconds. "Commander," Song Ye-jin called out excitedly, "I've cracked their communication network. They're using a basic encryption system that our computers solved in about 10 seconds. I can hear everything they're saying to each other." Park Ji-hai smiled coldly. "Put their command frequency on speaker. Let's hear what they're thinking." The bridge filled with the clicking, chittering voices of the Vorthak commanders as they coordinated their attack. The ship's translator worked overtime to convert their alien language into something the crew could understand. "Target the human vessel's engine section," came one voice. "Full power to forward batteries." "Their shields should have failed by now," complained another. "Why are they still intact?" "Perhaps their technology is more advanced than intelligence reports suggested," a third voice added nervously. Park Ji-hai listened to their growing confusion with satisfaction. "Gentlemen, I think it's time we introduced ourselves properly. Begin Phase 2. The Thunderstrike suddenly came alive in ways that defied everything the Vorthak Empire thought they knew about human technology. The ship's hull began to pulse with energy patterns that shifted and adapted with each new attack wave. But more importantly, the human vessel began to fight back. The return fire was unlike anything the aliens had ever seen. Instead of the crude energy weapons they expected, precise beams of light lanced out from the Thunderstrike, striking specific points on the enemy ships with surgical accuracy. These weren't random attacks, but carefully calculated strikes designed to disable rather than destroy. "Target their main power coupling," Tactical Officer Choi Dong-wook reported calmly, his fingers dancing across his targeting controls. "1. Shot clean hit. Their primary weapons are offline." One by one, the front line of Vorthak warships went dark. Not destroyed, not exploded, but simply shut down as their power systems failed. The human ship was dissecting their fleet with the precision of a surgeon, finding weak points that the aliens didn't even know existed. "Impossible," General Vexthar's voice crackled through the intercepted communications. "How are they targeting our critical systems so precisely? Our ships are designed to hide those vulnerabilities." "Maybe they're not hidden from human sensors," suggested one of his officers nervously. On the Thunderstrike's bridge, the crew worked with calm efficiency that spoke of years of training. They had prepared for this moment, knowing that humanity's expansion into the galaxy would eventually bring them into conflict with hostile alien species. "Their second wave is forming up," reported Choi Dong-wook, studying his tactical display. 30 ships approaching from Vector 77 Mark IV. They're trying to flank us." Park Ji-hai studied the approaching vessels on her screen. Each one was a massive warship bristling with weapons, but the Thunderstrike's computers had already analyzed their design and found dozens of critical weak points. "Mr. Choi, shall we disable their engines or their weapons first?" The tactical officer grinned, his fingers hovering over the firing controls. "Why not both, Commander?" "My thoughts exactly. Fire at will." The Thunderstrike's weapons spoke again, but this time the alien ships didn't just lose power, they lost mobility as well. Precise energy beams struck their engine sections, causing controlled explosions that left the vessels drifting helplessly in space. "This is madness." General Vexthar's voice carried a note of panic now. "One ship cannot defeat an entire fleet. It's impossible." But as he watched more of his vessels go dark, the alien general began to realize a terrifying truth. The humans weren't just defending themselves, they were demonstrating their superiority with every shot fired. Each disabled ship was a message, a warning of what would happen to anyone who threatened human interests. "Sir," one of his officers reported urgently, "the human vessel is moving again. It's heading directly for our command ship." General Vexthar watched in horror as the thunderstrike glided through his fleet like a predator stalking its prey. The ship moved with impossible grace, dodging enemy fire while returning shots that found their mark every time. "All ships, concentrate fire on the human vessel," he ordered desperately. "Everything we have." But even as 300 warships focused their combined firepower on the lone human ship, Park Ji-hai stood calmly on her bridge, watching the tactical display with satisfaction. The Thunderstrike had learned everything it needed to know about Vorthak technology, and now it was time to end this demonstration. "Prepare for Phase 3, she commanded. "Let's show them what happens when they threaten peaceful explorers." The space around the Thunderstrike erupted into chaos as General Vexthar realized conventional weapons weren't working. His frustration boiled over as he watched ship after ship in his fleet go dark, their systems systematically disabled by the impossible human vessel. "Enough of this mockery," he snarled, his four eyes blazing with rage. "Deploy the quantum torpedoes. I want that human ship reduced to atoms." Deep within the Vorthak flagship, weapon bays that had remained sealed throughout the battle slowly opened. These weren't ordinary missiles, but planet-killing weapons that bent the laws of physics themselves. Each torpedo contained enough destructive power to crack a moon in half, and the aliens were preparing to launch dozens of them. On the Thunderstrike's bridge, Lieutenant Kim Taemin's console lit up with warning lights as his sensors detected the new threat. "Commander, they're deploying some kind of quantum weapon system. These readings are off the charts. Each torpedo is carrying enough energy to destroy a small planet." Park Ji-hai studied the tactical display, watching as 20 glowing points of light separated from the enemy fleet and began accelerating toward her ship. The torpedoes moved faster than anything she'd seen before, bending space around them as they traveled. "Time to impact?" she asked calmly. 15 seconds and closing fast," Taemin replied, his fingers dancing across his defensive controls. "Commander, I don't think our shields can handle this kind of firepower." "They're not meant to," Park said with a slight smile. "Chief Lee, are the adaptive systems ready?" In the engine room, Chief Engineer Lee Min-ho was already 3 steps ahead. His hands moved across control panels that most engineers couldn't even understand, activating systems that pushed the Thunderstrike beyond the limits of normal physics. "Adaptive countermeasures coming online now," he reported. "The ship's quantum matrix is synchronizing with the incoming weapons. This is going to feel strange." "All hands brace for quantum shift," Park announced over the ship's intercom. What happened next defied everything the Vorthak fleet thought they knew about space combat. The Thunderstrike's hull began to shimmer like heat waves rising from hot pavement. The ship seemed to become translucent, as if it was fading out of reality itself. 10 seconds to impact," Taemin called out, watching the torpedoes streak toward them. 5 seconds. 3, 2, 1. The quantum torpedoes passed through empty space where the Thunderstrike had been just microseconds before. The human ship had somehow shifted partially out of normal space-time, allowing the devastating weapons to harmlessly pass through the area it occupied. "Impossible," whispered one of the Vorthak tactical officers. "They've somehow learned to phase shift. During combat, that technology shouldn't exist." But the Thunderstrike wasn't finished demonstrating human ingenuity. As the ship phased back into normal space, its hull was already glowing with new energy patterns. The quantum processors had analyzed the alien torpedoes during their passage, learning everything about their construction and propulsion systems. "Commander," Science Officer Song Ye-jin called out excitedly, "the ship has reverse-engineered their quantum torpedo technology. We now understand how they work." "Excellent." Park nodded. "Can we replicate them?" "Better than that. We can improve them." Within minutes, the Thunderstrike was manufacturing its own quantum torpedoes using alien technology it had just learned. But these weren't crude copies. They were refined versions that corrected flaws. In the original design, the human torpedoes launched silently, moving through space like guided lightning. But instead of destroying their targets, they were programmed for precision strikes that would disable entire ships without killing their crews. "Direct hits on their torpedo launchers," reported Tactical Officer Choi Dong-wook. "Their quantum weapon systems are completely offline." General Vexthar watched in growing horror as his most powerful weapons were turned against him. The human ship was learning from every attack, adapting and evolving faster than his commanders could develop new tactics. "Sir," his weapons officer reported nervously, "the human vessel is approaching our position. Range 40,000 kilometers and closing." On his tactical display, Vexthar could see the Thunderstrike moving through his fleet like a predator among prey. The ship dodged incoming fire with impossible grace, its movements too precise to be controlled by biological reflexes alone. "They must be using some kind of artificial intelligence," he muttered. "No organic crew could react that quickly." "Sir, should we deploy the Planet Killer?" asked his tactical officer. Vexthar hesitated. The Planet Killer was their ultimate weapon, a massive energy cannon that could reduce entire worlds to cosmic dust. But if he used it in the middle of his own fleet, it would destroy his own ships as well as the human vessel. "We have no choice," he decided grimly. "Begin charging sequence. All ships clear the firing zone immediately." The Vorthak flagship began to transform as the Planet Killer weapon emerged from its hull. The massive cannon was as large as a city block, crackling with energy that made space itself bend and twist around it. On the Thunderstrike, Song Ye-jin's sensors detected the new threat immediately. "Commander, massive energy buildup on their flagship. This is something completely different. The power readings are astronomical." Park Ji-hai studied the enemy ship on her view screen. The alien vessel was over 5 kilometers long, bristling with weapons and armor. The Planet Killer cannon dominated its forward section, glowing with barely contained destruction. "Distance to flagship?" she asked. 40,000 kilometers. Choi Dong-wook replied. Park's orders shocked even her experienced crew. "Take us to 500 meters off their starboard hull." "Ma'am?" Navigator Lee Hai-jin looked up in surprise. "That's practically touching distance. If their main weapon fires, we'll be caught in the blast." "Trust me," Park said simply. The Thunderstrike accelerated toward the massive alien flagship, weaving between defensive fire from hundreds of escort vessels. The human ship moved like a dancer, spinning and rolling through space with impossible elegance. 2,000 kilometers, Hae-jin reported. 1,000. 500 meters and holding position. The Thunderstrike now hung in space beside the alien flagship, like a tiny fish swimming next to a whale. The Vorthak vessel dwarfed the human ship, its hull stretching away in all directions. "Commander," Taemin reported urgently, "their Planet Killer is almost fully charged. If it fires at this range, it'll destroy both ships." Park Ji-hai smiled coldly as she studied the massive weapon through the view screen. "Mr. Choi, do you see that power coupling junction about halfway up the cannon's barrel?" Choi Dong-wook's targeting system locked onto the precise spot she indicated. "I see it, Commander. It's about the size of a basketball. One shot. Surgical precision. Disable their Planet Killer without harming the rest of the ship. Aye, Commander, firing now." A pulse of energy no larger than a human fist streaked from the Thunderstrike's weapons array. It struck the alien weapon's power, coupling with perfect accuracy, causing a chain reaction that raced through the massive cannon's energy systems. The explosion was spectacular, but contained. The Planet Killer weapon tore itself apart in a cascade of secondary explosions, but the damage was limited to the weapon itself. The rest of the flagship remained intact, though powerless. General Vexthar's final transmission crackled across all frequencies, his voice filled with desperate confusion and growing fear. "What manner of demons are you? How is this possible? One ship cannot defeat an entire fleet. It defies every law of warfare we know." But as the alien general stared at the Thunderstrike through his view screen, he began to understand a terrifying truth. The humans hadn't just built a better warship. They had created something that learned and adapted faster than any enemy could counter. Every attack made it stronger, every tactic made it smarter. The Thunderstrike hung motionless beside the disabled flagship, its hull still glowing with adaptive energy patterns. To the Vorthak fleet, it looked like a small piece of Earth's sun had come to visit, beautiful and deadly in equal measure, and the battle was far from over. The battle had reached a turning point that none of the Vorthak commanders could have predicted. As their mighty fleet found itself systematically disabled by a single human vessel, emergency communications began flooding in from across the galaxy. What started as routine intelligence updates quickly became messages of panic and disbelief. "Sir," the communications officer aboard General Vexthar's flagship reported with trembling mandibles, "we're receiving priority transmissions from High Command. They're ordering all ships to withdraw immediately." General Vexthar's 4 eyes blazed with fury. "Withdraw from one human ship? I will not suffer such humiliation." But as the alien general opened the secure channel to his superiors, his expression changed from anger to horror. The transmission wasn't coming from Vorthak High Command at all. It was being broadcast directly from the human vessel they were fighting. The main screen filled with the image of a human male in an admiral's uniform, his graying hair and weathered face speaking of decades of military service. Admiral Kang Seung-ho sat calmly in what appeared to be a ready room aboard the Thunderstrike, his hands folded on a conference table as if he were conducting a routine briefing. "General Vexithar," the admiral began, his voice carrying the authority of someone accustomed to command, "you have made a serious mistake today. You attacked what you believed to be a helpless exploration vessel. Instead, you have encountered something far beyond your understanding." Throughout the Vorthak fleet, commanders gathered around their screens as the human admiral continued his explanation. His words sent chills through even the most battle-hardened alien warriors. "The Thunderstrike is not merely a ship, General. It is the culmination of 10,000 years of human military evolution. Every battle strategy ever conceived by our species has been integrated into its combat systems. From ancient warriors who fought with bronze swords to modern strategists who command fleets among the stars, all of their knowledge lives within this vessel." The admiral gestured to screens behind him that showed flowing data streams and complex tactical displays. Sun Tzu's Art of War, Napoleon's battlefield innovations, Patton's armored tactics, Nelson's naval strategies, they all contribute to every decision this ship makes. You are not fighting one vessel commanded by one crew. You are facing the collective military wisdom of humanity itself. On the Thunderstrike's bridge, Lieutenant Park So-young monitored the transmission while maintaining her own communication links throughout the galaxy. Her job was more complex than the aliens realized. She wasn't just managing ship communications, but coordinating with an entire network of human intelligence assets. Additionally, she added to the broadcast, her young voice contrasting sharply with the Admiral's gravitas, "This vessel carries something unprecedented in galactic warfare. The uploaded consciousness patterns of our greatest military minds are integrated into the ship's AI systems. They don't just provide historical data, they actively participate in combat decisions." The implications of her words struck the alien. Commanders like physical blows. They weren't fighting against recorded strategies or programmed responses. The legendary human military leaders were somehow still alive within the ship's computers, guiding its every move with the benefit of centuries of combined experience. "Impossible," whispered one Vorthak captain. "Consciousness cannot be transferred. See to machines. It violates the fundamental laws of biology." But even as he spoke, the evidence surrounded his fleet. The Thunderstrike's movements were too precise, too creative, too adaptive to be controlled by ordinary artificial intelligence. Something with genuine strategic genius was orchestrating every attack, every defense, every maneuver. Deep within the Thunderstrike, quantum computers processed terabytes of tactical data every second. But more than that, they hosted the digital ghosts of humanity's greatest warriors. These weren't simple recordings, but fully functional consciousness. Patterns that could think, adapt, and innovate in real time. The bridge crew worked in perfect harmony with their invisible advisors. When Tactical Officer Choi Dong-wook targeted enemy weapon systems, the consciousness of ancient naval commanders helped him identify the most critical components. When Navigator Lee Hai-jin plotted evasive maneuvers, the spirits of ace fighter pilots guided her hands. "This is madness," General Vexthar muttered, watching his fleet being systematically dismantled by tactics that seemed to anticipate his every move. But the most devastating revelation was yet to come. Commander Park Ji-hai's voice cut through. the chaos of battle communications, her tone calm and matter-of-fact, despite the surrounding destruction. General Vexthar, there is one final detail you should understand before this engagement concludes. The Thunder Strike is classified within our fleet as a diplomatic vessel. Its primary mission is peaceful first contact with new species. The alien general's mandibles clicked nervously. Diplomatic vessel? This ship has weapons that exceed anything in our military databases? Yes, Park replied simply. Our diplomatic ships are equipped to defend themselves if negotiations fail. However, they are not considered combat vessels by Earth military standards. The silence that followed was deafening. Across the Vorthak fleet, commanders stared at their screens in growing terror as the implications sank in. If this was a diplomatic ship designed for peace talks and cultural exchange, what were humanity's actual warships capable of? Our true military vessels, Admiral Kang Sung-ho continued from his ready room, are currently protecting Earth and our established colonies. The Thunder Strike represents our commitment to peaceful exploration, backed by the ability to defend itself when necessary. Communications Officer Park So-young added another chilling detail. For reference, the Thunder Strike carries a crew of 47 specialists. Our military dreadnoughts carry crews of over 2,000 and are equipped with weapons systems that make this ship's capabilities look primitive. General Vexthar felt something he hadn't experienced in decades of conquest. Genuine fear. His intelligence reports had suggested that humanity was a young species barely capable of interstellar travel. Instead, he had encountered a civilization that had solved problems his empire didn't even know existed. Sir, his tactical officer reported urgently, the human vessel is moving again. It's approaching our position. Through his view screen, Vexthar watched the Thunderstrike glide effortlessly through the wreckage of his disabled fleet. The ship moved with predatory grace, its hull still glowing with adaptive energy patterns that shifted and changed like a living thing. We surrender, he transmitted desperately. The Vorthak Empire yields to human superiority. But even as he spoke the words, General Vexthar knew it was too late. The demonstration was complete, and news of this battle would spread throughout the galaxy within hours. Every species that harbored aggressive intentions toward humanity would now think twice before acting. His final transmission, broadcast on all frequencies as his flagship's power systems failed, carried a warning that would echo through the galaxy for generations to come. We have awakened something that should have been left sleeping. To all who hear this message, do not make our mistake. The humans are not the primitive species we believed them to be. They are something far more dangerous, a species that has weaponized the very concept of learning itself. May the void have mercy on us all, for they certainly will not. As his ship went dark, General Vexthar realized that this battle had changed everything. Humanity's place in the galactic order would never be questioned again. The silence that followed the last weapons fire was more terrifying to the Vorthak survivors than the battle itself had been. 300 of the Empire's most powerful warships drifted helplessly in space, their crews trapped aboard disabled vessels, waiting for the human ship to deliver the killing blow that would end their lives. But that blow never came. Instead, the Thunderstrike's hull stopped glowing with aggressive energy patterns and began broadcasting something the aliens had never heard before: medical emergency frequencies mixed with peaceful communication signals. This is Commander Park Ji-hai of the United Earthship Thunderstrike. Her voice carried across the void to every disabled vessel. We are ceasing all combat operations immediately. Any ship requiring medical assistance or emergency evacuation should respond on this frequency. Our medical bays are prepared to receive casualties regardless of species. General Vexthar, sitting in the darkened bridge of his powerless flagship, could barely comprehend what he was hearing. In his decades of conquest, no enemy had ever offered aid to defeated foes. Victory meant subjugation or death. There was no middle ground in galactic warfare. Sir, his communications officer whispered, they're serious. The human ship is actually moving to assist the damaged vessels in our outer perimeter. Through his view screen, Vexthar watched the Thunderstrike glide gracefully between the wreckage of his fleet. But instead of finishing off the wounded ships, small shuttlecraft were emerging from the human vessel's launch bays. Aboard the Thunderstrike, Dr. Yoon Ji-woo was coordinating the largest medical emergency in human space exploration history. Her team of 12 medical specialists was preparing to treat alien physiology they had only encountered in combat simulations. "Commander," she reported to Park Ji-hai, "we've never actually treated Vorthak injuries before. Their biology is completely different from anything in our databases." "Use the universal medical protocols," Park replied calmly. "The quantum processors analyzed their life signs during the battle. We should have enough data to keep them alive until we can learn more." What followed was something the galaxy had never witnessed before. Human medical shuttles docked with alien warships, and crews who had been trying to kill each other minutes earlier were now working together to save lives. Lieutenant Kim Tae-min, who had been operating the Thunderstrike's weapons systems, was now carrying wounded Vorthak soldiers to human medical bays. The same hands that had disabled their ships were now gently helping injured aliens onto medical stretchers. "Easy there," he said softly to a Vorthak warrior whose arm had been injured in an explosion. "We're going to take care of you." The alien soldier looked up at him with 4 confused eyes. "Why are you helping us? We attacked your ship." "Tae-min smiled as he activated the medical stretcher's anti-gravity field. "That's what humans do. We fight when we have to, but we heal when we can." Throughout the Thunderstrike, similar scenes were playing out. The ship's mess hall had been converted into a temporary hospital ward, where human medical staff worked alongside captured Vorthak physicians to treat the wounded. Chief Engineer Lee Min-ho found himself in the unusual position of giving a technical tour to a group of alien engineers who had been trying to destroy his ship hours earlier. They sat in the ship's main engineering section, sipping traditional Korean tea, while discussing the fundamental differences between human and Vorthak technology. "Your quantum processors?" one of the Vorthak engineers asked nervously. "How do they learn so quickly?" Lee Min-ho refilled the alien's teacup with practiced hospitality. "They don't just process information, they understand it. Human computer science is built on the principle that knowledge should be shared and improved upon, not hoarded." The philosophical implications of his words weren't lost on the alien engineers. Their entire civilization was built on the concept of superior species dominating inferior ones. The idea that knowledge could be freely shared was revolutionary. Meanwhile, news of the battle was spreading throughout the galaxy at faster-than-light speeds. The Galactic Council, a governing body representing thousands of species, called an emergency session within hours of receiving the first reports. The council chambers on the neutral world of Nexus Prime had never seen such tension. Representatives from species that had dominated galactic politics for millennia sat in stunned silence as they watched recorded footage of the battle. "This changes everything," whispered Ambassador Zreltak of the Hegemony Coalition. "If humans can defeat the Vorthak Empire's elite fleet with a single ship, what does that mean for the rest of us?" The answer came in the form of a holographic transmission that appeared in the center of the council chambers. Commander Park Ji-hai stood before them in her crisp uniform, her manner calm and diplomatic, despite having just won the most decisive space battle in recent galactic history. "Honored representatives of the Galactic Council," she began, her voice carrying to every corner of the vast chamber, "I am Commander Park Ji-hai of the United Earth Federation. Today's events were not of our choosing, but perhaps they can serve as the foundation for a new era of cooperation among our species." The council members exchanged nervous glances. Species that had considered humans to be primitive newcomers were suddenly forced to re-evaluate everything they thought they knew about Earth's place in the galaxy. "The United Earth Federation extends an offer of formal diplomatic relations to all species represented in this chamber," Park continued. "We seek trade partnerships, cultural exchanges, and mutual defense agreements with any civilization willing to coexist peacefully." Her next words sent chills through the assembled representatives. "We prefer peace, but we are prepared to defend ourselves and our allies against any aggression. I trust today's demonstration has made our capabilities clear." The message was unmistakable. Humanity was offering friendship to those who wanted it, but promising swift retaliation to anyone who chose violence instead. In the weeks that followed, The Thunderstrike became something unprecedented in galactic history, a mobile embassy that visited former enemy worlds to establish peaceful relations. The ship that had demonstrated humanity's military might now showcase their diplomatic skills. On the former Vorthak colony world of Kethmora, Commander Park stood before a gathering of alien civilians who had watched the battle footage with their own eyes. Many of them had expected human conquerors to arrive demanding tribute and subjugation. Instead, they found humans offering medical supplies, agricultural technology, and educational exchanges. "We don't want to rule you," Park explained to the assembled crowd. "We want to learn from you. Every species has knowledge that could benefit all of us if we're willing to share it." The transformation was remarkable. Within a month, former Vorthak military officers were working alongside human engineers to design better life support systems. Alien scientists collaborated with human researchers to develop new medicines that could treat diseases affecting multiple species. But perhaps most importantly, the children of both species began learning each other's languages and cultures, building friendships that would last for generations. Commander Park's final log entry, recorded as the Thunderstrike prepared to leave the former Vorthak territory, became legendary throughout known space. Mission log final entry. 6 months ago, we set out to explore the unknown regions of the galaxy and seek out new forms of intelligent life. We found hostility where we had hoped for friendship, and we responded with the force necessary to protect ourselves and our mission. But our true victory was not achieved through superior weapons or tactics. It was won through the simple act of offering compassion to those who had shown us none. The galaxy was not prepared for human military technology, but they were even less prepared for human mercy and victory. We have shown them both our capacity for war and our desire for peace. The choice of which they encounter in the future remains entirely their own. Today we leave behind a galaxy that is fundamentally different from the one we entered. Former enemies have become allies, and the age of human diplomacy has begun. Our greatest weapon was never our technology. It was our unshakable belief that any enemy can become a friend if given the chance. The Thunderstrike disappeared into hyperspace, bound for new adventures among the distant stars. Behind them, they left a galaxy forever changed by the radical concept that strength should be used to protect the weak rather than exploit them. The Vorthak Empire signed their first peace treaty in over 1,000 years. Other aggressive civilizations across the galaxy quietly began reassessing their own military policies. The age of conquest was ending, replaced by something far more powerful, the age of cooperation. And somewhere in the vast darkness between the stars, the Thunderstrike continued its mission, carrying with it the promise that had reshaken the foundations of galactic civilization: attack the innocent and face humanity's warriors. But surrender your hatred and find their healers waiting with open arms. The End.